Hello guys, good evening. It's I believe time changed yesterday, 6:30, so I'm taking advantage of the evening light to make one last video. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get on camera the rest of the week, because Monday through Friday I work like a dog and I love it. The work instills the worth, and a man by definition is responsible, and that's what we men do. We work hard to be able to maintain a roof and food on the table for our families and our loved ones. And so always be proud of your work, always be proud of what you do. And yeah, I try to work as hard as I can, but let me tell you, I have a helper. This kid, 23 years old, my goodness, he can work harder and longer than me all day, every day. That kid's amazing. His name is Frankie, and he's part of my mutual assistance group. And anyways, that he's awesome. So I have some notes. After my last video, there were some awesome. Thank you guys for all the comments. It was so encouraging. Thank you so much from my heart. I really appreciate all the comments. But there was one that caught some people's attention, and this participant, his name is Death to All Tyrants. By the way, Death to All Tyrants, that's an awesome name. I agree with that. Don't we all? Jeez, that's right on point. Awesome name. Thank you, brother. So he said, yeah, just be cautious of those who live in the country their whole lives. City leeches aren't very welcome when SHTF scenarios come into play. Well, Death to All Tyrants, I have found a very different attitude here from the people. And, I think people are smart enough that they realize when somebody comes from, let's say, small town America, and you come from a city. People are smart enough to see if you come here to join the community and be part of it, and and network with them and work with them and add something to the community. That we have been so welcome here. It's so welcome, and we reciprocate the feeling. We came here to become. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. That goes a long way, all the way, every time. When you go somewhere, you have to become part of that place. If you're moving into that place, you have to become. Okay, and so Dick Wellington answered to this guy. I thought he was talking to me, but he wasn't. He was talking to Death to All Tyrants, and he said, how many SHTF scenarios have you been through? Probably not speaking from experience. So check this out, guys. I think after 2020, all Americans pretty much witnessed SHTF, right? To some extent or another. At the time I was living in Washington, Washington State, and I was working in Seattle, so I would commute to Seattle to go to work in construction and remodel homes. And every day I saw more boarded windows. As I exited the freeway, the boarding of windows kept getting closer to the freeway every day. I kid you not, one time, if it was Friday or Thursday, getting close to the weekend, or on the weekend, sometimes I wore a body armor in the car, because you didn't know if you were gonna make the wrong turn and just drive into a crowd of protesters. It was sketchy, man. Those days were sketchy. 2020. Everybody experienced 2020. We all saw everything that happened. Some people had it really bad, man. Some people in the cities had it really bad. Talking about cities, right? Did you see all the chaos in the cities? Was just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And just innocent people defending their lives, getting convicted, and all the criminals that are burning and looting the cities just getting a free pass by these politicians, just gathering money to bail them out of jail. It's unbelievable. But hey, we live in weird times, and so we have to adapt. Remember what Bruce Lee said? Be like water. Adapt. Become the container. Water goes into a bottle, becomes the bottle. Goes into a teapot, becomes the teapot. So we have to adapt. It's the only way. Adaptability equals survivability. But anyways, let's talk about what the heck do I know about SHTF? Who am I, right? Well, guys, by now you probably noticed that I have an accent. I don't hear it, by the way, something only other people hear. I thought I was speaking perfect English, and people keep saying, oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? Well, let me tell you my story. I'll try to be brief, but hopefully this won't be a long video. I was born in El Salvador in Central America in 1976. That's right, getting older, right? Um, and I grew up in a war. Now the war began when I was about 2 years old, and it was just a revolution that became in the end communists wanting to take over. All right, communism wanting to take over the country, but war was just part of everyday life. Me and my family had to drive around. Sometimes dad's taking us to school and there was crossfire. We had to just drive around the neighborhood, and this was daily life. You had to get used to it. And sometimes it was worse than others. Now, the war got really bad. Imagine 13 years. 13 years of two sides being two sides against each other, right? So it got pretty nasty. I got to see kids dismembered, blown up by landmines. And when I was 14 years old, this war that had lasted 13 years came to the final offensive. It started, and we were all trapped in the crossfire. It was chaos everywhere. My family and I had just been at a fair. We left about 6-7 p.m. and when we got home, everything started right around that fair. We were trapped for 2 weeks under crossfire, eating on our chest, on the floor, cooking on our chest, moving chest to the floor. You had to move, you had to go to a room. We didn't walk. There were bullets hitting the walls, explosions, tracers, helicopters, tanks, chaos, complete chaos. And we were left with whatever we had in the pantry. And my mother did an awesome job at rationing all the food that we had. What we had in the pantry, that was it. That's what we had. We didn't know how long this was gonna last. We didn't know who was gonna win. We didn't know if that little tiny country of El Salvador was gonna stay a republic or become a dictatorship. This was it. This was the big confrontation. And my brother, my oldest brother, he was an army officer in El Salvador, and that was actually his graduation. That was his last year. He fought in that war, and to him I owe all the training and knowledge that I have in firearms. My oldest brother did. When he was doing military school, officers, if they spoke English, they got to come to the United States and be trained by courses. So my oldest brother has a Ranger patch and a Green Beret patch. He did the courses, and even though they are not American Army, but America helping El Salvadoran Army would train the officers in all these courses. They would come and they had to pass. They had to pass the course, in order to get the patch or whatever, signifies that you have gone through and passed the course. So yeah, my first experience concealed carrying was when I was 14 years old, and it was a Beretta 92 FS. That's what the officers got. That was what my brother had been given in officer school. And this one time we were going to travel from one town to the other, and he said, put this in your pants. Now, Beretta 92 FS has an exterior safety and a heavy hammer, so you can put it in your pants. If that hammer is down and the safety's on, you can put it in your pants. Nothing's going to happen without a holster. As long as it doesn't fall, you're fine. So he says, hey, put this in your pants. This was the first time. And I said, why? Why do I get to carry your gun? And he said, because nobody's going to think you're carrying a gun. He had a military haircut. That was his part of his street smarts and part of the intelligence education that they got during the war. Also, We were told that if our house was ever graffiti outside, we had to go because they were killing officers. My best friend lived 9 doors from my house, and his brother was a Salvadorian Air Force officer, and they got riddled with bullets. This one time I was gonna go pick up the newspaper, and I just hear a AK-47 rave, and I just hit the deck because we learned how to do that. We lived like that. When you heard machine gun fire, you chest to the ground. It's immediately. To this day, I'll tell you a funny story about hitting the ground when you hear something, because it stays with you forever, But anyway, so my best friend and his brother, the pilot, and his other brother, who was an architect, and the officer security, which was a soldier, they all got shot. And the one who got it the worst, the architect. My best friend's brother, one of his brothers was an architect, and when he takes off his shirt, he looks like a railroad map. They revived him with electric shocks, and it was a terrible time, and we all lived through it. Lots of my friends got shot. Lots of my friends lost their parents in crossfire, and so when I see, having faced the evil face of communism, having looked at communism in the eyes, I know the sneaky beast that communism is, and how attractive its philosophy can be for young people. So please, brothers, everybody, let's educate our young ones. Let's educate them in the way of freedom. Let's help our kids. What are we going to leave them? I love that speech by Ronald Reagan. I love that speech where he says that if we don't teach our kids all the lessons that they have to also practice in their lifetime, you and I might as well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once in America when men were free. We don't want to get there. Are we all twisted up and all, America's divided, right? America's definitely divided, but we can only worry about what we can control, and that is what we teach our young ones, what we teach our kids, right? Anyways, guys, so that's part of my background. My whole family was blown up twice because the guerrillas used to sabotage the electrical grid to mobilize in the dark. So if they wanted to cross the capital, which we lived in the capital, in a suburb in the capital, they would blow up transformers. And we were lucky enough to have a transformer right outside the house. The first time it happened, I had just put together airplane. It was a model airplane, one of those that you glue, like, that hobby type of thing. And I was just so proud of my airplane, and I'm looking at it. I've just finished it. And so they, what the guerrillas used to do, will carry a C4 with a detonator and a fanny pack, and they will grab the fanny pack and just put it on a post that had the transformer up top, and just keep walking. And they had a timer. And anyways, I remember holding the airplane, and all of a sudden, and this is a mystery, but I swear this is what happened. I saw the sky get green, and I heard an electrical hiss right before the explosion, like the electricity was faster to get than the sound of the explosion. So I'm sitting in my room, probably 3 walls away from the explosion, and the only reason we survived is because houses in Central America and Latin America in general are made of cement, cinder block, brick, all just hard stuff. There's no framing or drywall in those countries. If that was the case, destruction would be immediate. Anyways, so I remember the sky just going green and hearing this zzz, and then boom. And right after that boom, the house shook so hard, we all fell on the floor, and the house shook so hard that all the dust came down and lifted up from the floor and from the ceiling, and we were all white. The house was a white cloud. It was all dust, and we were looking for each other. My dad thought that my mom had blown up the propane tank in the kitchen. He thought he was gonna find her in pieces in the kitchen, you know, because we didn't know what this was. It was just the guerrillas blowing up the electrical grid in the neighborhood. So yeah, as you know, I also lived through 2 huge earthquakes. Not a pretty thing to live through. One of the earthquakes, I was literally down the street. I was on a neighborhood next door to a neighborhood that got buried by a hill that slid on the earthquake. It had been raining, and all the ground in this hill was wet, and there was a mudslide that just completely covered a town, covered a whole neighborhood. I was in the neighborhood next door, and so it was chaotic. It's chaos. All these years through the war and through these earthquakes, and you know, all these SHTF scenarios that I got to live through as a kid. After an earthquake, there was also days without water, electricity, or supermarkets. What you had is what you had. The war and the final offensive, what we had is what we had. So when I see the climate that is brewing up in the world and the European theater with the Ukraine thing and Russia and everybody flexing their muscles, China flexing, wanting to take Taiwan, China wanting to help Russia, Russia getting upset with us, and then all those little sabotage things that are happening here, trains being derailed, power stations being shot out. Yeah, it makes me want to be prepared. So we shall do it, guys. Step 1 of preparedness is stock up food to the rafters. Do I have food to the rafters? Not yet, but I'm working on it. You know, and all kinds of food. So when it comes to food, the step number 1 of preparedness is food and water. Food and water. Stock up food to the rafters. Get some dry food. Get some canned food. Learn how to put food in buckets. Just inform yourself a little bit, but gather things that have a long shelf life and that they will last they will last in good shape for quite a bit. Is a savvy thing to do. And also water. You can go a long time without food, you know this, but water is a short time. So like I mentioned in the past video, I'm so grateful that I'm close to rivers and whatnot, but we're also getting water, because immediately when things happen, you want to have everything. You don't have to walk miles to go get water, while you gather your bearings, regroup, and organize with your people, with your community, with your neighbors, with your mag, with your militia, whatever you want to call it. While you organize, you want to have things that you can live on for days on end, because you never know how long an SHTF scenario is going to last. Yeah, that was basically. I forgot about the funny story. Maybe I'll come back and I'll make another video. But anyways, guys, thank you again for the comments and the support. Don't think that you're gonna be rejected when you go to if you have the good intentions to move to a place and become part of it and be a helping hand and be a member of the community, you will be welcome. I believe in the human spirit. I believe in people. I believe in the human heart. And remember, hate is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Let's get rid of it. I'm guilty of feeling hate sometimes in my heart when I see the terrible injustices that happen in the world, right? I feel that hate, but it's only affecting me. So try to shake it off, try to get rid of it. And I try to follow good sources of news online and find independent people. And but every now and then, even though they're telling the truth, you wanna cut it off. Take some days off. Forget about what's happening. Think about only what you can control around you. Because see, it weighs heavy. It weighs heavy so much. Once you become a seeker of truth, and you start finding truth about facts, about situations and events, it builds up, and it's not healthy. So let's worry about what we can control, which is being prepared, being healthy, gathering food, gathering water, being a good member of the community, organizing ourselves, and Everyone, have a wonderful week. I don't know if I'll be able to get to make another video during the week, like I said, but if not, I'll see you guys next weekend. Love you all, and keep on fighting the good fight. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Bye bye, everyone.